As yoga teachers, we can often slide into a comfort zone where we forget some of the basic things and basic knowledge of what to and not to do when teaching a yoga class. Today, I'm going to tell you and teach you about how to introduce your yoga class, what to say and not to say, and what to bring to that simple introduction. This is something that I've seen teachers forget time and time again as I become a student again at different yoga studios. My name is Ashley. I am a yoga teacher and yoga teacher trainer. I help people develop an awesome, thriving home practice as well as train yogis to become teachers. So today we're talking about that introduction. The main reason people avoid yoga is fear. Yoga classes can be super intimidating. So the goal of yourself as a teacher is to make students feel comfortable by explaining at first who you are, what the class is, what to expect, and at the very least, tell them your name. I think I've been to 6 classes recently, and one person told me their name as they introduced class. And I was kind of shocked, like, teacher will walk in and say, everybody in child's pose. And I'm like, but wait, who are you? What is this about? What should I expect? As if I were a brand new yogi, I would kind of question what I was doing, if I was doing it right, that kind of thing. So anyways, here are a few things that you just think about adding to your introduction to your yoga class. At the very least, number 1, say your name. Even if it's just your first name. It's nice to personalize who you are. Another great thing is to maybe ask for students' names. You can do this before or right during class. If it's too much to do right before class, do it prior and make sure that you're introducing yourself when people walk in the door. But say your name when you start class. Number 2 would be class description or the name of the class. I've seen it happen where there's 2 rooms in a studio and someone's in the wrong room. I used to teach a class, it was a hot yoga class, while restorative was next door. And I'd frequently get people who meant to be in restorative class inside of my class. So the first thing I would do is say my name and then say, this is heated yoga. If you're here for restorative, that's actually next door. So you can pick up and go over there at any time. So make sure that you say the class and the description of the class so people know what to expect. Another great thing to say with that is, how long is the class? 60 minutes, 90 minutes? You can tell people to turn their cell phones off or get rid of them, or turn their Apple Watches off. I know they're everywhere, just to not look at the time. That's something that I enjoy as a rule, is don't be looking at the time. You're here for you, let's be in the present moment. Talk about any equipment that people need, whether it's a block and 2 straps, 2 blocks and a strap, or a bolster or a blanket. If you need specific things, let them know. And then always give permission to modify or take a break. So right at the beginning, tell students it's okay if you need to take a break. You can always step outside the room or come down to child's pose, totally fine, it's your practice. Go through any class announcements, that way you're not disrupting people's sleepy feel goods with like all these random announcements at the end. If there's anything you have to mention, do it at the end. And let's see, any class rules, studio rules, good to get out there. Some optional things would be like, mention here your class theme or your focus of what you're going to work on today. And also questions possibly to create community. So if you have a little extra time with a small class, you might want to ask someone like, I'm going to go around the room and let's say your name and your favorite yoga pose, or what you had for breakfast this morning, or something that can get people talking and get people uncomfortable a little bit, which is good. So there are some things you can mention in your introduction. I know it seems like a lot, but you can kind of pick and choose depending on if you have new students in class or, depending on your class. But really just at least say your name, that's it. Things to not mention in your introduction. So let's say you've got a bunch of yoga peoples sitting in their mats, they're waiting for class to start. You walk in, you say, my name's Ashley, this is Vinyasa Yoga, it's heated to about 85 degrees and it'll be about an hour long. Let's get started. One thing you don't want to say is don't ask out loud for new people. Don't say, so who's brand new? The last thing that new yogis want is to be called out or drawn attention. They're typically in the back. They don't want to raise their hand. They don't want you to like eye them up and judge them or anything. Even though, yes, we know there's no judgment, there's still that fear. Remember, you want to make people feel comfortable. So that whole like, who's the new people in class is something you should probably get out ahead of time. Like when you see people register for class, maybe introduce yourself if you haven't seen them before, ask them if they've done yoga before outside. So ask them personally rather than in class. Along those lines is don't ask out loud for injuries or pregnancy. So same type of thing, like, so is anyone pregnant in here? Or you know, anyone injured? Because sometimes those are personal things that you don't want to say out loud. You don't want to talk about your knee surgery you just had, or some random things like you just had a hysterectomy or something like that. That's something that should be talked about ahead of time. However, you could mention, if you have any injuries, please come to me before class or during class and let me know, something like that, so I can best work with you. Number 3, I guess in this is don't ask for newbies, don't ask for injuries, and then don't ask for class requests. I know, some people are out there are like, but I always ask what the class wants to do. The reason I say don't ask for class requests is that can sometimes, quite often, come off as you're not prepared as a teacher. You don't have a plan, you don't know what you're doing, and you need the students to decide for you. And occasionally you can be like, hey, so is there anything you want to focus on, but today we're working on hips, or today we're working on our shoulders, but is there anything someone absolutely needs? I don't know, that's probably okay, but if you don't come prepared and you're really just hoping that someone gives you suggestion, they're honestly probably gonna say they wanna work on their hips. That's 90% of what people say when you ask for class requests is hip opening. So if you wanna do something other than hip opening, then choose yourself, and that's to work on that. Last thing you don't want to bring into your introduction or to the class at all is your personal problems. The class that you're teaching is not about you. It's about everyone else. Each person is the most important person in the room for them. You are not. So you are there to guide them, not share your personal life. Save that for, happy hour after class. All right, so that's your introduction. I'll give you a quick little sample. I'm just gonna pull out. When I used to teach a class, let's say it's Tuesday, 5:30 p.m., and I'm teaching my heated Vinyasa flow yoga class. I say, hey everybody, good evening. My name is Ashley. We're gonna get started in a moment. This is Vinyasa yoga, so a flow-based yoga. It's gonna be about an hour, and it's gonna be about 85 to 90 degrees. If you ever feel like you need to take a break or step outside for a moment to cool down, please feel free to do so at any time. We're going to need a block and a yoga mat, towel and water bottle. Other than that, we're gonna get started. So if everyone could please come to child's pose with your knees forward, sit back on your heels and extend your hands. Let's get started. That kind of thing. And I could have mentioned, today we're working on hamstring flexibility. Expect a lot of forward folding and letting go of our stresses or something, if you have a theme or a focus. If you want more, of this type of stuff, of how to do an introduction or how to do the rest of class, you can simply go down in the description and download my 10-step sequencing guide or 10-step class creation guide. The introduction is step number 1. So you'll get 9 more steps to creating a class as a teacher, or even your own personal practice. Just leave out the introduction part, leave out a couple pieces. But as a teacher, or if you're practicing at home, it's a great guide, and it has some worksheets that you can just fill out to make it easy to plan a class. Super simple. I made it myself with my graphic design background. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed this short little lesson on yoga teaching. Have a super awesome day, and I'll see you next time.